If you take everything you read online or listen to all the talking heads and believe it all as gospel, well, guess what? It's time to get out more. There is absolutely zero substitute for experience in the lawn that will teach you things. Yes, you can read all the textbooks and articles in the world and watch every video online, visit every message board and Facebook group to learn as much as possible, but nothing will educate you quite like the experience of just getting out in the lawn and doing things. And that brings us to this episode of Budget Lawns. I appreciate you joining me as always. We are going to kind of visit a big project that I've got going on in the back lawn at the new house. If you don't know anything about it, jump back a couple videos. I will leave a link for you down below so you can find that. I am working on kind of project 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. All these are intertwined together, but as I have gotten further into this thing, it has further validated a lot of my thoughts and philosophies on lawn care and all these practices that we hear preached all the time online. And the talking heads, we tend to just believe them and run with it, and it costs us a lot of time and a lot of money. But today, I want to look at three things going on back there amidst the project that is underway and show you how a lot of the things I do don't necessarily follow or fit the mold of what I should be doing according to some people. So here we go. Let's jump back in the backyard and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Look at all these rocks. Quite the collection. Well, I'm hanging on to those because I think I have a great idea for where I want to use them. But I'm going to show you where they came from, okay? Because on a new construction lawn, everybody says, oh, the rocks, they're just terrible. The construction debris, they're just terrible. And the grass just won't grow on it. You better get all that removed. I don't find that to necessarily be true. All those rocks came from this area here that was once all sod, now all dirt. You'll see in that other video that I am in the midst of transforming a lot of my backyard into natural spaces for ground cover and other flower bed areas because I want to limit the amount of manicured turf I have and increase the amount of landscaping. Because if you ask me, a lawn without landscaping is like caffeine not being in your coffee. Honestly, I don't want either one of those. But that's where all those rocks came from. I tore all of this sod out. I'll show you what I did with it in just a second. But when I tore all this sod out, even with all those rocks in there, guess what? That sod had rooted like Hercules. That is just the nature of Bermuda grass. It will grow on concrete if you'll let it. It will grow in the worst of the worst soil conditions. No matter how much construction debris or rocks you have after your new house was built, the Bermuda grass will root and grow. That stuff had just been sodded back in December of last year, so about 6 months when I tore it out, and it had already established nicely. It was quite the undertaking to take it out with just my hands and a shovel, but I did it and found a lot of rocks in the process, which I am going to keep adding to that collection because I'm going to be tearing out more here and more in a couple places, but that's not the purpose of this video. I have some awesome plans for the landscaping in this back lawn, so I would encourage you to follow along. So we still got a lot of rocks there. Going to be just fine for what I'm going to plant. And that brings me to number 2. Okay, number 1, I've just found that Bermuda will grow on anything, and that kind of segues into number 2. I hear all the time that, oh my gosh, you better be aerating your Bermuda lawn. You just have to. You got to open that soil up. The hard red clay of the South, the Bermuda just won't make it. Are you sure? Are you sure? Look at this. I tore sod out here. Now look what we've got. We still have Bermuda that refuses to give up. All in through here. All in through here. There's some there. This is all hard red clay, folks. Of course, it's loosened up on top from all the digging, and I spread some of the excess dirt around. But there's Bermuda, and there's Bermuda, and there's Bermuda, and Bermuda, and Bermuda. It finds a way to survive. It just does. We talked about this before. Bermuda grows through stolons above ground and rhizomes below ground. And even though I tore out all that sod, guess what? There were still roots and rhizomes on the move, and they have found a way to make it. This has been bare dirt for several days now, getting blasted with the sun. No water. You can see my water line stops right there. And it's still making it. So you may be wondering, well, why haven't you covered up all this bare dirt with something to prevent it from coming up? Well, I am just going to leave it like this and see what Bermuda makes it, what other weeds start to germinate, and I'm just busy in a lot of other things in life. And then I'll come back and blast everything with the weed and grass killer, a lot like what I did back here. This is with the Spectracide weed and grass killer. I didn't want to dig around this fiber optic pedestal or any of these electrical transformers or anything, so I've hit that there. I'm going to come back, fill this in with dirt, start planting some stuff, but in the meantime I'm just going to see what else comes up to the surface, blast it, kill it, then get a layer of mulch down. Not going to do any planting till next spring because everything I want to plant is best planted in the spring, and we're just going to leave it mulched until then. Got a lot of these purple moths around. What could that mean? I don't know. I ain't got time for that. All right, so that's number 2. Your construction debris and rocks aren't doing as much harm as you think they are on a new Bermuda lawn. That was number 1. Number 2, your hard red clay. Proof is in the pudding right there, is not the end-all be-all demise of your Bermuda grass like you think it is. You don't have to run out and aerate. I'm telling you, when I dug that sod up over there, I was pulling up rhizomes and roots and knew I couldn't get them all. And that brings us to number 3. And you'll see more of this in the process in that other video I linked below. What did I do with that sod from the side of the house? Well, this is it. All back there behind the retaining wall. That was where this all started. I wanted to bring the level of this up right here because it had settled and it was just a bumpy, wavy, horrible mess, and I couldn't even hardly mow it. So I took the sod from over there and I laid it behind the wall. Is it perfect yet? No, but some sand leveling jobs in the future will make it just right. But every step of the way makes huge strides towards achieving the goal, and this is so much better than what it was. But the big thing about this is this is sod laid on top of other sod. Now, go ahead and Google that and see if it's advised to put sod on top of an existing lawn, and you will find that it is a resounding no. But I did it anyways. Yes, I put a thin layer of topsoil down to help bring the soil level up just a little bit and give the roots something to attach onto. But for the most part, this is just sod on top of sod. We're about 2 weeks removed from the project. I got the first mow in just yesterday, and it is looking awesome so far. Absolutely awesome. Now, you can see at the top edge of it, I used topsoil just to kind of feather it in to the rest of the lawn and introduced a ton of new weeds into the lawn. And when I'm out here watering, guess what I'll do? I'll just run along this top edge and start hand picking a few weeds at a time. And it's amazing how quickly they come up when they haven't rooted and matured at all, and I've watered and it's wet. They just come out like you're pulling a weed out of butter. And it's making a huge impact with handfuls of weeds coming out every time I water. But this sod, it just didn't make sense to me. I knew that from experience, if Bermuda grass grows through rhizomes underground and the roots dig down pretty darn deep, then, I mean, is it really going to hurt to put Bermuda on top of Bermuda? Well, I think so far the evidence points to no. We'll see what it looks like long term, but I don't really have to wait because I know it's going to look awesome when it's all said and done. Okay? All right, number one, don't worry about your construction debris and rocks. Number two, your hard clay, it's not the grass killer you think it is. Just do your cultural practices and it will help that Bermuda thrive. And number three, if you want to throw some sod on top of sod with a Bermuda lawn, go for it. It ain't gonna hurt much if you ask me. The rest of the yard, not looking too shabby for its first season. If you'll remember, this was all infested with weeds. Twice a week mowing, only one round of fertilizer so far, proper watering, no weed control except for hand picking yet. And I would say year number one is off to a fantastic start. That's gonna do it for this one. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.